everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on a Sunday evening over here in Queensland in sunny Oz, well, the sunny part of Oz anyway. And I'm just so excited to be here for a Royal Chat because we haven't done one of these live Royal Chats for a while. And it's always good to focus on some of the positive, lighter sort of royal stuff that we all enjoy because I think I've been getting a little bit too heavy lately. I've been getting really bogged down into some quite serious stories, which is good to do, but I think some light relief would be good. I wish you had some smell-o-vision because I'm just loving myself at the moment. I just oversprayed some perfume. I always get a little bit nervous before a live, so I went into my bathroom and was sort of checking, no lipstick on the teeth and all that sort of thing, and I spotted my Estee Lauder Beautiful in the cupboard, and I sort of went, instead of going squirt and walking through it, I actually went shh. Now, ooh, I smell quite delightful, but a little strong. So maybe it's good it's not smell-o-vision. Before we get into the Royal Chat aspect of the show, let me say g'day to everybody, to Natalie, Amari from Florida, and a very cold Melbourne, evidently. Everyone from down in Melbourne is saying that it's really, really cold. And so, look, I'll give you a bit of our warmth. We're starting to get cooler days. Now, those of you that live in colder climes, you're just going to laugh at me right now because we're getting down to about 14 degrees Celsius overnight, which I know isn't cold for you people that really have cold weather. In the depths of winter, we will get down in the real depths of winter. In a few months, we will get down to it could get as low where I live down to 2 briefly overnight, but generally it's around 6 or so. So that's the weather report. Now we'll get on to some royal news. And I wanted to talk about Zara's birthday because she is a favourite. She is a favourite. And actually looking at the response on social media, I think she is the favourite with absolutely everybody. I can't find anyone that doesn't like her, which is fantastic because I think she's fabulous. So this was the great post from Mike Tyndall, and I adore him too. He's so real, so down to earth, and he seems like so much fun. And you know how in the royal family, how they always say that, someone was a breath of fresh air and they always turn out to be a disaster? Because they said that about Fergie, didn't they? And they said that about Meghan Markle. And I think they even said it about Diana at one stage, that she was a breath of fresh air. And it hasn't turned out that well. But when they said it about Mike Tyndall, it worked out. It worked out perfectly because he is indeed a breath of fresh air. He's a lovely man. So he posted, "Happy birthday to the better Tyndall. She even let me play golf on her birthday." Now that is just the ultimate woman, isn't it? To allow you to play golf on her birthday. And I think she even caddied for him. Of course, they've got a special charity they do every year where they raise a lot of money for worthy causes. And I believe that she is a big part of that. So that's lovely. Now, I've got some photographs, and this is just blatantly pinched off social media. Apologies if it's from someone's account that's looking at it now, but just went in and just blatantly pinched photos that I liked. There was so many, but I just want to share a few of my favourite moments when it comes to Zara Tyndall. And here's a couple now. Now, Taz actually put this on her timeline as well. So sorry, Taz, but it genuinely is really one of my favourites. And it was when Zara Tyndall was actually attending a garden party, of course, at Buckingham Palace. And she looks so Mary Poppins, doesn't she? She just looks divine. She really, really does. And I love that hat. I love the waisted dress. That's one thing I love about Zara is she often wears, things that accentuate her waist. And I think it's lovely because she's just got such a beautiful womanly figure. She's not stick thin, but she's certainly very slim, but she just has such a beautiful, healthy, body, and it's refreshing to see. I don't want to be too weird. I don't want to really dwell on Zara's body, but you know what I mean. It's lovely to see a woman And to me, Zara looks like a woman in her clothes. And of course, Catherine does as well. But of course, Catherine is very, very slim. But I just think she looks awesome. Also, love the faux fur. And I don't know what that was for. Judging by the makeup, I'm figuring that was some sort of fashion shoot, was it? You can let me know if you know where that photograph of Zara is with the faux fur. I would love to know where that's from because I didn't have time to actually track that down. But now I'm going to show you the one that makes me laugh, absolutely get the giggles every single time. And it's this one. See? I'm not even putting it on. I'm not faking. It makes me laugh. And it's, of course, her reaction to Bishop Michael Curry at Meghan and Harry's wedding, which, of course, he delivered the sermon. And I looked it up. The main theme of the sermon was emphasizing the power of love to heal and make the world a better place. And look, it was a lovely message. It was just directed at the wrong people. That's why it didn't work. But it was so funny to see the reaction of people throughout the congregation, particularly, people who are, used to going to very English churches and having their very English staid church services with their hymns and whatever, very reminiscent of my school days. And you could just see across people's faces. And it's good to shake people up a bit. I think it's good. I actually enjoyed Bishop Michael Curry. But in the end, when the camera was panning around, that was when I was giggling and thinking it was so funny because of the reactions. And of course, Camilla was very badly behaved because she got the giggles. She really got the giggles. And Catherine, of course, was sitting next to her, do you remember? And Catherine wasn't going to play any part of that because she knew the cameras were on them. And she was determined not to smile. And she was just looking away and looking down at the program of service. But if they all had have caught the giggles from each other, it just would have been hilarious. Of course, I'll never forget Princess Beatrice's reaction too. She just looked really like shocked. She just looked wide-eyed, whereas Zara looks more like WTF, doesn't she? She does. She does. I love Zara. It just showed all over her face. I'm just going to see your reaction to the things I've shown you so far. Karen Taylor, we would all love Zara and Mike to become working royals. Yes, yes. But you know what? I think it would wear them down. I think they're fine as they are. They're fine as they are. Actually, there's a bit of a misconception about that, Karen, because not the comment you made, but some people think it's because her dad actually knocked back a peerage, because at the time of the marriage to Princess Anne, he was, of course, offered a peerage to become an earl or something. And it's true, he did knock that back. He did not want that sort of title. He didn't want a peerage. But later on, after the birth of Mark and Zara, the late Queen Elizabeth II actually did offer a courtesy title, which would have been an HRH and a Prince and Princess thing to Zara's children. Same as Andrew's, because, of course, you've got Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, and it was Anne that actually knocked back the courtesy titles. So her husband knocked back the peerage and Anne knocked back the courtesy titles because they just felt that it would be too hard for their children. They just, I think Princess Anne said really honestly at the time, look, I really don't think it's an advantage. I think it might make their life harder. And she would know, wouldn't she? Yeah. Just a few more comments. Blue Ella, I wonder what the bishop thought of Meghan's claims that the wedding was a spectacle. Yeah, it sort of undermined his sermon a bit, didn't it? Because he was really believing in the whole love thing. He really was. Natalie Morris, I think the sermon was okay. It just went on and on and on. Yeah, true. I did get a little bit bored. Initially, I was thrilled because I thought, oh my goodness me, we haven't seen anything like this before. This is amazing. And then it just went on a little too long. I think when you sense that an audience is getting uncomfortable, you get uncomfortable because it becomes a little bit embarrassing because you pick up on the tension in the room. And there was a little bit of tension at the end because I think people were generally, fearful that he wasn't going to stop. I think they thought, oh no, he's not going to stop. We're going to have to actually shut him down, drag him off. But he did. So that's good. That's good. Oh, that's great. This is one more comment. Oh, Blue Ella again. See, I always go for the same one. Sorry, Blue Ella, I can't read out too. In my opinion, Princess Anne has always been super sensible, and deciding to bring her children up without titles was a prime example of that. I agree. She is super sensible. I think she would be a fabulous mum and a fabulous grandmother. She just seems... I did laugh. I think it was a while ago. I read this article. And no, I think it was in the documentary where Zara and Mark were talking about their mum. And Zara said, oh, whenever we go over for dinner there, she's always shooing us out the door. Like the kids will get an icy pole or an ice cream on their way out the door to eat in the car. She's like, all right, dinner's off. Off you go. She never serves pudding, apparently, or we would call it dessert, because that's probably why she's so slim. I mean, she can fit into clothes that she was wearing in the 1970s, and that is quite a feat. My mum's actually like that. She's amazing. She weighs herself every day, and if she's even like 300, 500 grams out, she'll be careful that day and get her weight back to the exact weight that she has always been. I've blown out so much from my 18-year-old weight that I've given up. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm not one of those people that weighs themselves once a week and looks like this through my fingers. And then do you do that? Do you rock back and forth on the scale trying to make it go lighter? And do you strip all your clothes off, trying to make it go lighter? Do you stand on one foot on tippy toes? That's what I do. It doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. Okay, so also I wanted to bring up her glory moment, which was when she won the silver medal in the team eventing in the 2012 London Olympics. And wasn't it amazing that she actually won that in the London Olympics? I mean, in front of a home crowd. It was just absolutely spectacular, wasn't it? And a really good feel-good moment. And of course, we had the wonderful opening ceremony for the London Olympics with the Queen and James Bond and the coming down in the helicopter and the whole thing. Oh, gosh, it was good. The London Olympics was stellar. It was just amazing. I'll never forget it. My favourite was the Sydney Olympics, and probably my next favourite will be the Brisbane Olympics. But I did love the London Olympics. I thought it was just absolutely amazing. Okay, so what do we talk about next? I've got a few things I could talk about. Will we go on to some eye candy, or will we save that for later? I think we might have some eye candy. Here we go. No, it's not. Oh, sorry. Sorry, King Charles. It's not you, but you are eye candy. Got the wrong side there. Oh, if he was watching, he'd be so insulted. I'm so sorry. King Charles, you were definitely eye candy, but I just wanted to show your son in this particular slide. And of course, the Order of the Bath. What did you think? I thought he looked quite stunning, and it was quite cinematic. And a few people have said on social media that they felt that William was maybe, a little uncomfortable with the robes and all that sort of thing. I didn't pick that up at all. I thought that he was probably really mindful of the importance of the occasion, this being the 300-year anniversary. Now, I had to get this right, because you all know anyway, but he was installed as the Great Master of the Order of the Bath at Westminster Abbey. And this is interesting, which I didn't realise. I'm just going to try and bring myself up a little bit bigger so you can actually see my mouth move. The King was also attending for the very first time as Sovereign of the Order. I didn't know that. So it was quite a momentous occasion for all of them. And the interesting thing was that it only happens every 4 years, And they actually brought it forward to 2025 in order to celebrate the 300-year anniversary. So that's quite amazing, isn't it? And the other funny thing I read, which I didn't know, was that the great master, which is now William, has to attend every single one every 4 years without fail. He cannot get out of it. But the sovereign only attends every second one. So King Charles III's next one is going to be in 8 years, 8 years from now. And yes, so William is now sort of taking over that role of always appearing. The other thing I was going to say was that the late Queen Elizabeth II attended her last one in 2022, and because of her mobility issues, she couldn't get up these wooden stairs with the heavy robes on in order to present. And so the then Prince Charles did it for her. So that was in 2022. I think the only other thing I could tell you that was of interest, and I'll just try and get to that photo. So there's King Charles III and, of course, William. I think that's a stellar shot. And, of course, 300 years history. I mean, wow, wow. I mean, it's just so wonderful. Tradition, tradition. It is. It's just so important, I think. And this little gorgeous boy, who was Lady Dale Tryon's grandson. Yes, I've got to get it right. So King Charles III's godson is Lord Tryon, and his son is this gorgeous little boy who is Guy Tryon, who is 10 years of age, and he acted as the page for King Charles III for the Order of the Bath ceremony. And one last bit of trivia, if you're going to attend the pub and you want to win for your team, it's awarded to members of the military or civil service for exemplary work. And that's all I have on the Order of the Bath. But I got to say, I'm such a shallow person. Because all I did was drool over this photograph. That's all I did, because I thought he looked absolutely wonderful. And I do have a bit more eye candy for you at the end of the show, because we're going to finish off with, of course, the final of the footy and William appearing for that to greet all the players pre-match. He looked pretty good then too. He did. Oh, Izzy said, has the king shrunk? Well, I don't know, but when you look at the photograph of the king next to Queen Elizabeth II, then you realise that really the then Prince Charles looked quite tall when he was next to the Queen. But I think when he's right next to William, I think he might have shrunk a little bit. I mean, don't we all shrink just a little bit? We've got marks on our wall where we sort of measured the boys and all that sort of thing. When we moved into this house, it's not childhood ones. We only moved in about 3 years ago. But we did it on this house just to put their mark on things. And I did myself. And, it's not good. I have shrunk already. So I'm trying to do lots of stretching exercises. They say if you actually hang from a doorway by your ankles, that you can stretch yourself out again. Maybe I need to get a rack or something from the Tower of London. But we get sort of bowed down, compacted with gravity. So you've got to remember, if you do your weights and you do your Pilates and things like that, you've got to remember to stretch yourself out. I feel like getting my boys on my feet and hands and just saying, pull, just stretch out, mum, because I don't want to shrink anymore. I don't. It's an awful thing. It's an awful, awful thing. Yes, Jen, tradition. Oh, I love that. I've actually got the album of that, which was my mum and dad's, and there's nothing like it. You know, if you're feeling defiant, just put on Fiddler on the Roof at full blast and then do your dusting. It's just wonderful, wonderful. It is nighttime here in Australia, Diane March. It is indeed. Okay, so what will I show you next? I better show you the King Charles one. I was going to show you before I showed you the eye candy of William. Oh, sorry, William. Bye, William. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this because it really impressed me. I had no idea that Dynamo got his start from a grant from the then Prince's Trust. I had no idea. And there's actually a quote that I've got here. It filled my heart because back in 2014, I absolutely used to love watching the Dynamo magician shows. Did anyone hear? And I thought he was just brilliant. Of course, his real name's Stephen Frayne, which I didn't even know that really. I only knew him as Dynamo. And when I saw this and when I saw the heartfelt comments he made, it really moved me. It really did, because it made me realize how much impact the Prince's Trust has actually had on people's lives, which is what you want it to do. Of course, it's the King's Foundation, but he did this amazing trick, which you've probably already seen, where he got the king to pick a card and then he turned all the local area networks, the Wi-Fi networks, into King of Hearts. And Rebecca English was very impressed by this on X. She put up a photograph of the surrounding networks and she said, and indeed, here is the proof. So it sounds like they all had a great time. And they actually visited the Hub Yorkshire and they were visiting local business owners. And of course, this is where the quote came from the king, where he said he thinks he's hopefully on the other side of cancer. So that's lovely. The direct quote is on the visit when he told a local florist, "I'd like to think I'm on the better side." And then in brackets of my cancer journey. And he gave her a thumbs up when she asked how he was. And it just looks such a lovely sort of heartfelt visit. And like I said, the Dynamo thing really moved me. Evidently, he's got a new show coming up, which is just fantastic, because I think his last really big hit shows was in 2014. So it's been a while, hasn't it? So it'd be great to see. And evidently, he's doing concert dates and all that sort of thing all around the place. So that's a wonderful thing. I really enjoyed that. I really did. Now, just to depress you some more. Oh, but this is funny. I've got something to show you. This was in the Telegraph just yesterday. And we all know, well, I'm guessing, and most people think, that the original story about the Beckhams and Brooklyn and Nicola and Harry and Meghan actually came from a Melodramacito source. Most people think that, and they think that it was all aimed to get them, in the headlines, and it worked, and yeah. But I'm going to show you something a little bit different. And this actually gobsmacked me, because this is almost a doubling down. So you will know that there was a real negative feedback to that. And then there was sort of retraction statements. There was a walking back in the Daily Mail saying, well, in fact, we just happened to be at the same party and we may have exchanged a few words, but we didn't directly invite them. And there was all these clarifications and walking back of the original story, which I heard came sourced directly from Melodramacito. So then there was a walking back in the Daily Mail. So original story in the Sun, walking back in the Daily Mail, and then this in the Telegraph. So I'll just actually bring this up again. Now, how am I going to do that? There we go. So, yes, it's very interesting because of the language, and that's what I want to draw your attention to. Far from being a petty squabble, the rift stems from Brooklyn's long felt unhappiness over his treatment within the family, the source close to the 26-year-old said. But that isn't the real humdinger. This is the real humdinger. With his wife's support, the source said, Brooklyn is for the first time standing up against his parents, and they described what he was doing as breaking generational trauma. Now, where have you heard that before? Where have you heard the breaking of generational trauma? It's very suspicious, isn't it? And it's strange, like I said, because it's almost a doubling down. And it's almost like maybe Nicola got a little bit of advice about getting your side of the story out there. It's important to get your side of the story out there as soon as possible. That was the first impression I got. And the language, I think, is very, very telling. very telling. So I think there is something to this story. I know many people are dismissing it. Like I said, I was told that the original Sun story was sourced. It doesn't mean it's true, but it means that it did come from a source that wanted it printed. And then, like I said, the backtrack in the Daily Mail. So I really feel for the Beckhams. I really do. When I saw that article in the Telegraph about breaking generational trauma, I actually took it to show my boys. And I said, you know what? If you feel like I've damaged you in any way, speak now or forever hold your peace. Because I don't want you to meet the love of your life and for us to have a breaking up of the family because you're breaking generational pain, or you're, making it clear that you always felt devalued and less and all that. I said, tell me now, because I will address it. I'll fix it. But tell me now. You'll forever hold your peace. Because I think it would be a parent's worst nightmare to be estranged from your children and for it all to be sort of landed on you, because everyone celebrates the wedding. Everyone's really happy. And then about a year down the track, I know there were tensions with the wedding with Brooklyn and Nicola. I know that. But, it wasn't as bad as this. So it does make you wonder, doesn't it? And you don't want to have to go walking on eggshells around your daughter-in-law. I haven't got even a prospective daughter-in-law, so I'm not talking about anyone. I'm talking about a future fantasy daughter-in-law. I want to be really close and love her to death. I don't want us to be at odds with each other. So, let me know what you think. It would be my greatest fear. And the trouble is, once it happens, I think it would be very hard to fix. I think it really would be very hard to fix. How can you because everything you say, they would take the wrong way, and everything you did to try to fix it, they would think you were being a narcissist or emotionally manipulative or something. You know what I mean? It's a no-win. And these days, if you get upset about anything, someone will label you a narcissist. So, oh gosh, yeah, not good. I'm going to have a look at some of your comments and just check out if you're actually as paranoid as me. Let's have a look at Mari's comment. It's such a shame about Brooklyn and his parents. They were all so close, and then Nicola came into the picture. I believe there was tension at the wedding. I hope he works things out with his parents. I hope he does too, because really, does it matter all that much? I mean, you can live in a separate country so that you don't have to be in each other's faces, and you can just meet up for fun occasions. You can meet up for christenings, and you can meet up for birthdays, and you can meet up for little holidays and send each other lovely things, but you don't have to live in each other's pocket, do you? So even if there is tension, oh God, let it go. It's crazy. Also, yes, Lynette Ross says, it has MN's words all over it. Yes. Well, I did just want to make mention of it. I don't want to dwell on it, but thank you, Lynette. I didn't know if I was sort of imagining, but I think it did. I think it did have her words all over it. So I'm going to show you something light, funny, and I won't say lovely, but light and funny anyway. And this was actually, no. Oh gosh, you've got to remove things, Shauna, and then put things up. There you go. Sorry, I'm not extremely up with all this tech on SteamYard. So this was an article, and I always bash Sarah Ferguson, but I actually found this quite funny. And in a way, a little bit endearing, but in another way, I found it a little bit cringy. So you can decide for yourself. I won't put my own opinion over it. So this was the story. No, that's Chrissy Tegan. Did I have the story? Oh, I wrote it down. Here we go. So it was in the Sunday Times, and Sarah Ferguson was saying to that Queen Elizabeth speaks to her via her corgis. And she was addressing the Creative Women Platform Forum in London. Now, this is a direct quote, so I'm not going to take words, put words into Sarah's mouth. I'm going to give you the direct quote and be fair. I have her dogs. I have her corgis, and every morning they come in and go, woof, woof, and all that. And I'm sure it's her talking to me. I'm sure it's her reminding me she's still around. Now, when I read that, I did laugh. And I did think, oh, Sarah, come on, you're milking it a bit with the corgis. Come on, give it a rest, love. It's like every so often when you're desperate, you drag out the corgis and the Queen Association and the whole thing. But I did laugh because I was imagining the late Queen Elizabeth II sitting up there in heaven and looking down as Sarah's making these claims in this speech. And she's thinking, why would I come down and talk to you? You actually mucked everything up for you. You gave me years and years of hell. You annoyed my husband to the extent that, you had to never come for Christmas again. And it was very awkward with your daughters. And you put me through a very hard time, Sarah. I had to deal with all the fallout from all your tabloid photographs. I had to put up with the embarrassment of you going on the Oprah Winfrey show. I had to be mortified when you offered to sell access to my son for £500,000. I mean, the list goes on. The enormous debt she totted up with her, the Queen's Bank. It's not good. I don't think that she would go out of her way to actually go woof woof to Sarah. I don't, unless it was a growl or a snarl, then she might. Let me know what you think. It's just, she keeps dragging out the Queen, especially when she knows there's something not that good coming up very soon in August, I believe. Just a few more of your comments. Opinion. The way the press are linking Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola family situation with that of Harry and Meghan is very tenuous, to say the least. Also, there was no dinner invite, Harry and Meghan claimed home. Yes, of course. It was inaccurate information. It was misinformation. You are absolutely 100% right. I'm not implying that the story's true. I'm not implying any of it's true. But to tell you the truth, I don't think this is the press necessarily whipping this up. I was told that they got this from a direct source that was at that dinner party. Now, obviously, they were leaking, and it wasn't an invitation directly, from Harry and Meghan to Brooklyn and Nicola. You're 100% right. But the leak about the fact that they were chatting intimately at this dinner was leaked. Now, of course, it may not be true. Of course not. But isn't it strange that another source, now close to Brooklyn and Nicola, are actually using Meghan Markle word salady phrases in order to put supposedly Brooklyn and Nicola's side of the story across? So I'm not saying I'm believing it. I'm saying there is something afoot where someone with an agenda is initially breaking this story, is doubling down on this story, and it's very strange that the language is so similar. That's all I'm saying. And of course, the press will report it because, it's just something that fell in their lap. So who wouldn't report it? Because it's so juicy. And if they can, beat it up, then they will. This is from Patricia Carroll, bit cringy, Shauna. I think Sarah simply wants to stay a bit relevant with corgi dogs. Really, the late Queen talking to her. I know. And the crazy thing is that I've said this a million times, and probably, excuse me, this is a lovely comment. This is from Linda Hogan. I think the Queen would be Charlotte's guardian angel. I like to think that. Yeah, that's a better thought. Linda. I'll agree with that one. Yes, she didn't really ask them to look after the corgis. It was more that they were returned to them, because they originally owned the corgis from puppies, and then they used to take them around occasionally for the Queen. And I believe during lockdown, they left their corgis with the Queen, and they'd trained them a little bit so they weren't a hassle and all that sort of thing. But they were their dogs, and they were basically just on a friendly and nice loan to the late Queen, and they were merely returned when the Queen died. That was the true story. But there was a lot of sort of beat up and sentimental drivel put out mainly by Sarah Ferguson that put her in a very special position. The other thing that annoyed me, which I think is sort of a bit disrespectful to people that die, is when people claim they've had conversations with people that have died and you can't verify what was said and you only get their version of this very intimate conversation. That always really annoys me, because if I've had an intimate conversation with someone that's passed away, I don't betray that conversation. I don't tell it to anyone, because it would seem to be really big-noting yourself, and it would also, I think, make other people really uncomfortable because they have no way of verifying if you're telling the truth. And it's very emotionally manipulative. And even if you are telling the truth, I wouldn't tell it. I wouldn't tell it, because it just would make the other person sad, unable to verify it. And yeah, no. I mean, I might share it with an intimate family member if it was 100% true and I knew that it would actually make them feel quite lovely and it's a story they would want to hear, then I would. But no, I think you've got to keep those sorts of things private, don't you? Isn't that the whole point of intimate conversations? Aren't you supposed to keep things private? And also, you're supposed to keep emails private. You're supposed to keep DMs private. You're supposed to keep everything private if you're not an asshole. Because, I've been brought up to respect people's privacy and do the right thing. So, and I'm sure all of you have too, because I've got a brilliant community. I don't think anyone here would be so dastardly as to share private messages and things like that. And this one from Carolyn Toy. Love Dynamo, so amazing. I may actually write to Prince William to tell him how much we adore him in ceremonial occasions, just in case he doesn't know. Oh, do it. I think that would be wonderful. I think it would be very welcome. I know a certain amount of positive things that actually make it to the palace are shown to them, but I'm sure they find it very encouraging, because let's face it, they get a lot of criticism. So I'm sure that they would find it very encouraging to have a lovely message like that. All right. Now, this amused me, so I've got to talk about it. Okay. Now, the Chrissy Teigan thing is due to the fact that the next series of With Love is going to feature Chrissy Teigan in an episode, which I think is absolutely hilarious, because Chrissy Tegan and Meghan have quite a bit in common, and it was actually reported by Daily Mail Showbiz. But I can reveal she's landed someone much better known for the next instalment of the show, model, TV personality and cookbook author Chrissy Tegan. Now, this has produced quite a bit of hoo-ha on social media, because people are reacting to the fact that Chrissy Tegan hasn't got that good a reputation when it comes to cyberbullying. She was actually called out for it. I think it was back in 2020, and she was pretty much cancelled for it because she affected quite a few people. And I looked it up just to get the facts. So, like I said, there was allegations that she was actually a cyber bully, and it was against Courtney Stodden and also a fashion designer called Michael Costello. Now, at the time, Michael Costello actually shared screenshots. I'm not going to do that, but she actually shared screenshots of sort of proof of this bullying. And John Legend defended his wife at the time and said that they were fake. That's not why I'm not going to share them, because I don't know. I mean, who knows? Who knows with AI now what's fake and what's not? I mean, it's so easy to fake absolutely anything now. So, Tegan issued a public apology in May 2021. Now, this is a direct quote, saying she was an insecure, attention-seeking troll. Now, if you're feeling sort of generous, you could say that that was quite a brave thing to do, to issue an apology, a public apology, and say that she was an insecure, attention-seeking troll. However, there was no private apology. There was no private apology made to Courtney Stodden. And Courtney Stodden actually came out and said that. Well, that's interesting, but there was never a private apology to me. And apparently there was no private apology to Michael Costello either. Now, Taz made a very interesting point too, which I didn't even think of myself, and then many others on social media actually agreed with and added to it, that Meghan and Harry are front and centre for the parent network. And I thought, oh my God, that's such a good catch. Because of course, cyberbullying, why would you have someone that was actually cancelled for alleged cyberbullying on your show, on your Netflix show? So that is quite astonishing. Okay, next thing I was going to show. Now, evidently, like I said, Meghan and Chrissy go back to the Deal or No Deal days. Now, Chrissy Tegan was on first, the year before Meghan, and then Meghan was on for 2 years after Chrissy Tegan. But they did actually cross paths, and they did apparently know each other. So that's interesting. And then this from Daily Mail Showbiz. Meghan and Chrissy have much in common. Both appeared as Briefcase Girls. So Chrissy was on in 2005. So 20 years ago. It's a long time ago now, isn't it? And Meghan in 2006 and 2007. So, yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting. Oh, I'm going to say another one from Mari because I don't want to be, sort of too one-sided. If I'm not mistaken, I have heard tell that the late Queen was quite fond of Sarah. She had quite a soft spot for her from what I've heard. Yes, I believe so, that she really did have a soft spot for her. But I've heard that that's why it was all the more devastating when she did all those awful things because it hurt the Queen very badly and absolutely devastated her. But I guess there's always going to be different versions of the same story, isn't it? And the only people that really, really know are the people that were there, I guess. One thing I will say that I was quite moved by was Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie were actually appearing on that podcast about their mum, and it was hosted by, who was it hosted by? Cressida, yes. It's her podcast, and I was quite moved, and they were quite moved because they actually got tears in their eyes. And it did make me realize that in all this sort of entertainment and the fact that, it's some of it is quite amusing, there's always people. There's always people at the end of it, isn't it? So I am mindful of that, but I don't know. I can't turn off my natural snark. I'm just a bitch at heart. I can't help it. So I put your comment up, Murray, because I think it's good to be a good person. I'm still working on it. I'll achieve it one day soon. So the other thing about Chrissy Tegan was she posted this up on her Instagram last Friday. Now, Chrissy Tegan gave up the booze, and she gave it up for quite a while, and she was inspired by this book, which was Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker. Now, they've all got podcasts now. They've all got their own podcasts. And so she has her own podcast, and she had Holly Whitaker on her podcast. And she said that she was dreading actually doing this podcast because she admitted in it that she'd started drinking again. Her words were, paraphrasing, "I've let alcohol back in my life." Now, tell me what you think. But I was wondering, do you think her appearance on With Love Meghan drove her back onto the booze? And I'm serious, because in the first series, they were drinking in every episode. I mean, they just didn't stop drinking. They were drinking at any time that anyone turned up in that kitchen. You had a pop of a champagne cork. Now, not that I'm against it. If I was actually visiting Meghan's kitchen, I would need booze too. I would definitely need some bubbles to get through it. But I'm just wondering if that was maybe why she let alcohol back in her life, because she knew she had to appear on the With Love Meghan season 2, and she thought, she said to John, look, there's no way I can do this without a drink. I just can't. I've got through 5 years, but I just can't do this without a drink. I've got to have some bubbles. So I'll leave you with that thought. You let me know what you think. I'll be reading all the comments when I finish, and also all the comments left below the video on replay. Final thought, I'm just going to give you one last little bit of eye candy because I'm just that kind. This is the Prince of Wales meeting the teams on the pitch before the Emirates FA Cup final at Wembley Stadium. And I'm going to leave you with that because I want you to have sweet dreams. Doesn't he look good? What a fine figure of a man. He's just wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. I've gone a little bit over time. I promised my husband that it would only be 40 minutes and I've gone 45. So I better click off. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again very soon. Just letting you know, I am actually going away for a little while, and I will be posting the normal book video on Friday for all those that are into The Little Princesses by Marion Crawford. I'm not going to let you down. I have pre-recorded that. That will be up Friday. But as far as other normal programming goes, I'm going to be on a little break. So I will see you when I get back. Love to all, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. Bye, everyone.